Who can greenlight a cartel convoy? Not a kingpin, an office. The investigation says 46 border relaxations were timed to high-value shipments, and 63 CHP officers took monthly consultation pay. In this video, we go beyond the Black Hawk raids and show the mechanism. How Solaris embedded logistics inside governance, how 19 border protection employees cleared corridors, and how encrypted voice logs set dates, routes, and personnel. If you want the playbook that turned California into a protected distribution hub, you're in the right place, right now. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. A convoy doesn't need a kingpin when a calendar invite and a state login can open a border lane. That's the point where muscle fades and admin takes over. Solaris didn't push through checkpoints, it scheduled them. Encrypted directives told people when to ease corridors, who to assign, and how long to keep the lane flexible. The system sat on routine workflows that no one questions: shift calendars, temporary traffic plans, and anodyne memos about resource allocation. On the back end, monthly consultation payments moved to 63 California Highway Patrol officers and 19 Border Protection employees. The label made them look like policy advisors. The task made them act like a dedicated escort unit. On paper, the authorizations were ordinary. You'll see phrases like temporary relaxation, corridor easement, and resource deconfliction. They match policy language used for wildfire evacuations or construction delays. The friction starts when those entries line up with high-value cargo windows. Public statements say traffic control. The back channel says shipment support. The timestamps do the talking. When a lane opens at odd hours, when way stations go quiet in a sequence, when one dispatcher keys a clearance that ripples across 4 jurisdictions, the policy face stays neutral while the authorization spine bends to an outside schedule. That clash surfaced during a 4:32 a.m. Los Angeles raid window. Agents pulled server logs that tied 46 timed relaxations to container arrivals labeled as industrial solvents and medical precursors. The descriptions pass basic scrutiny. The timing does not. Relaxations began 30 to 40 minutes before the containers hit port gates, then extended just long enough to clear inland checkpoints. The same badge numbers show up in multiple events, and the clearance notes reuse boilerplate text. It reads like compliance. It functions like a pass. Follow the money and the language starts to make sense. Investigators traced $410 million through 36 shell corporations and 51 offshore accounts. The flow didn't sit idle. It cycled through restaurant chains and nonprofits that act as liquidity buffers. Those fronts handle cash variances every day: seasonality, donations, supplier float. So a surge in program consulting or menu development becomes background noise. The outflow lands as monthly bonuses that match the roster of officers on so-called special assignments. The number shifts between 12 and 22,000 per month, enough to buy silence and guarantee availability when a call comes at 3 a.m. 2 decrypted hard drives seized from a Koreatown casino filled in the routing layer. They mapped 112 container imports to specific CHP route clearances and way station bypasses. Each entry paired a port code with inland timing, including detour scripts that rerouted commuter traffic under the cover of construction or safety training. The files even listed alternates for rain, weekend events, and school zones. It looked less like smuggling and more like logistics management built inside state tools. Voice logs rounded out the calendar. Scheduling calls laid out routes, dates, and personnel, and those instructions mirrored payroll spikes tagged as consultation bonuses. When a voice confirmed a Sunday dawn clearance on the 7:10, 3 badges and an operations clerk got a bump inside the same pay period. The pattern held across months. No quotes were needed. The cadence of calls and paydays did the linking. If the authorizations came from the governor's office tree, the reach goes beyond traffic. Ports sit on grant programs, and emergency funds move fast with limited oversight. A parallel structure could ride those pathways to secure storage yards, tug priorities, or even rapid permits for roadwork that requires lane control. That's the quiet power of a toggle. Here's the payoff. Border relaxations acted like switch flips. One entry in a system turned public authority into private protection, corridor by corridor, hour by hour. With lanes opened on command, Solaris still needed a chain of command to enforce compliance when anyone hesitated, and that is where the second structure comes into view next. The raids were loud, the purge was quiet, an internal hunt that counted badges before it counted cash. While headlines chased the nightfall seizures, a smaller team moved in shadows with spreadsheets, badge rosters, and server keys. They called it Clean State Division. It didn't kick doors, it pulled threads. The mandate was simple: isolate the human circuit that made Solaris function, then cut it without warning. That meant no memos, no press calls, and no leaks that might spook anyone who still held access to corridor toggles or payroll nodes. Clean State Division formed as the second phase after nightfall, when the visible raids gave prosecutors their first leverage and the back-end analytics lit up. The unit split into 3 cells. One audited corridor entries against dispatch clocks. One traced consultation payouts through payroll middleware. The third followed credential use on state systems. Who logged in, where, and 10 minutes before what. The play wasn't about asset seizure now. It was about removing the shadow of authority Solaris rented and returning control to systems that could be monitored in real time. Parallel governance isn't a metaphor here. Solaris acted like a second police force that didn't need uniforms because it had clearances. Paid authorizations lined up with synchronized route sweeps, giving the appearance of routine coverage while clearing lanes and segments. A way station goes offline for maintenance. A traffic unit shifts to incident support 2 miles ahead. A district dispatcher moves resources for a training block. Each action felt normal in isolation. Together, they mirrored the timing of inbound loads that required zero friction from port to interstate. The payroll audits drew a clear line. 63 CHP officers on special assignments and 19 border employees triggered flags when their compensation bumps landed inside the same windows as 46 corridor events. The amounts weren't steady. They pulsed around Sundays, holidays, and pre-dawn clearances. When finance flagged the variance, Clean State matched it to radio silence periods at way stations and short-lived detours that pulled commuter flow just long enough for trucks to clear the next checkpoint. Arrests rippled outward once the pattern locked. 41 officers, 19 federal employees, and 7 high-ranking officials faced charges, which opened fresh probes into infrastructure offices and nonprofit pipelines that had handled program consulting line items. Each arrest handed investigators another layer of access: email archives, procurement trails, board minutes from charities that had grown fast without clear revenue logic. The circle widened, but the approach stayed narrow to avoid tipping off anyone still holding override keys. A strike in Malibu showed how the system kept its brain. Agents walked out a hidden server farm that bundled route plans, consultation payments, and container schedules into an end-to-end blueprint. The racks ran mirrored drives with redundant logs of detour scripts and dispatch overrides. Backups stored voice snippets tagged with badge IDs, and a dashboard tracked corridor health like uptime on a network. It didn't move drugs. It moved minutes, and minutes moved loads. Nightfall seizures delivered the leverage Clean State needed: 3.4 tons of narcotics, $27.8 million in cash and gold, and 202 firearms gave prosecutors bargaining chips and a way to test stories against hard evidence. Those numbers weren't press fodder inside the room. They were timers. Every asset tied to a plea deadline, every plea linked to access, and every access point led to a new login trail that could be shut down before the next scheduled relaxation. The decryption phase answered a question the raids couldn't. What did Solaris want beyond shipments? The final file labeled Phase 7 Regional Stabilization laid it out. California as the primary distribution and production hub, with 82% of West Coast fentanyl flow routed through Solaris-managed channels. That isn't a smuggling plan. It's governance capture written as logistics policy. With the machine exposed and dismantled, the focus turns to resilience. Audit trails can be forged, and shells can be renamed. So prevention starts by locking the places where minutes become passes and keeps eyes on the funds that move faster than oversight. If 82% of flow can be routed by policy, then policy is a battlefield. Treat authorizations like weapons and guard them the same way. The next move is yours, not theirs.